Return the $40,000 your son took or stay out, Dad said, holding the door. My sister added, my daughter saw him near the safe. We all agreed. I smiled, dropped the bank records and her car lease on the table. 5 minutes later, her husband walked out and she, my name is Kevin Hartley. I'm 34, a pathologist in the county morgue, the person who shows up when the questions get quiet and the facts have to speak. In my family, I'm the background guy. I fix things. I hold doors. I say it's fine when it isn't. If we were a photo, my sister Alyssa would be in perfect focus, smiling, and I'd be the blur behind her carrying the coats. I have a 13-year-old son, Eli. He's quiet like me. He likes chess and old computer parts. His hair never fully obeys. On school mornings, we split a stale muffin in the car, and he reminds me to breathe when my phone starts lighting up. Divorce gave me 50-50 custody and a permanent list of things I'm supposed to remember. Forms, sneakers, lunch cards, days. Work is clinical and specific. In the morgue, I label, measure, record. Everything has a chain of custody. I like that you can prove where something came from, who touched it, what happened next. There are no golden children in there, just cause and effect. At home, facts slide. Alyssa shines. She's 2 years older, a marketing manager with shiny teeth, shiny SUV, shiny opinions. When we were kids, Mom framed her spelling bee ribbons and pushed my science fair medals into a drawer with batteries and old cords. That drawer still exists. Dad calls it the junk drawer. I learned to laugh when he said it. Like I agreed the things I worked for were miscellaneous. I'm not bitter. At least that's what I told myself. I worked nights, paid down debts that weren't mine, took my turn, then took the turns my sister skipped. She called me Kevy when she wanted something like I was 6 and she was being cute. It always worked. Sunday dinner stayed a thing even after my marriage didn't. Mom did roast with carrots. Dad played referee with a beer. Alyssa showed up late and loud. I arrived with paper towels, salad, and the knowledge I would leave with someone's list. That Sunday, the air felt stiff as I walked up their driveway with Eli. The oak tree threw long shadows over the minivan. My stomach nodded for reasons I couldn't name. Eli nudged me. You okay? Yeah, I lied. Let's just smile. We stepped inside. Mom barely looked up. Alyssa stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, lips pressed, posture dialed to courtroom. Her husband, Brad, hovered like a personal bafe. Their daughter, Kendall, 9, swung her legs at the bar stool, watching all of us like TV. Dad didn't sit. He stood in the doorway to the living room, one hand on the frame like a bouncer. Return the $40,000 your son took or stay out, he said, holding the door. Eli sucked in a breath. I blinked. It didn't compute. I heard the words like a radio from another room. Alyssa added, my daughter saw him near the safe. We all agreed. I looked at Eli. He went pale. In my head, I grabbed for a clipboard and couldn't find one. No chain of custody, just an accusation thrown like a brick. Dad, I said slowly, what's safe? Mom wiped a clean spot on an already clean counter. Don't make this harder, Kevin. Kindall swung her legs faster. She didn't meet my eyes. Brad sniffed like he smelled something burning. Eli whispered, I didn't, not here. I told him, my voice shaking. We stood in the doorway, half in, half out, like a test. The house smelled like roast and lemon cleaner and something cheap. Fear maybe, or the sick sweetness of someone's lie. Say you'll bring it back, Alyssa said, bright and firm like closing a sale. Then we can eat. I didn't answer. 1,000 small memories started rising in my throat, heavy as sand. From the living room, Aunt Marie's voice drifted out. He always was a strange one. The first trigger wasn't the dollar amount. It was that line, flat, casual, like I'd been a problem for years, and everyone had just been waiting to say it out loud. The safe wasn't new. Dad kept one in the bedroom closet behind the flannels, a black box with a keypad and a key for just in case. It held passports, bonds, the title to the house. Mom's ring when she used too much lotion and claimed it might slip off. And cash always cash. Banks fail. Dad said cash doesn't. He loved telling the story of the time his bank put a hold on his paycheck. 14 days, he'd say like the number had personally insulted him. Never again. So he kept envelopes in the safe. He wrote dates on them. He showed Alyssa the inside like it was a museum. He never showed me. I learned to stand in the hall and not look like I was looking. Over the years, money left the safe quietly for Alyssa's emergencies. The daycare messed up. Brad's job is in transition. The SUV tires were a surprise. Mom would say it was temporary, then lay out dessert. Dad would grumble so he wouldn't look soft. I'd drive home with leftovers and wonder how to cover my own rant. I picked up extra shifts. I said no to vacations. I said yes to I'll pay you back Friday. Even when I knew Friday was a fairy tale. My ex called me predictable and safe, which sounded like a complaint. She left with a man who called himself a fixer. He fixed nothing. I fixed the custody schedule and Eli's trust in adults. Alyssa liked to call me frugal and laugh like I was a sitcom character who kept receipts in a jar. The truth was less cute. My checking account had a permanent bruise. I had one suit for court, 2 shirts for work, and a system of rods in my closet like a lab. Blue, gray, black. It wasn't an aesthetic, it was triage. The humiliations were small and constant. Kev, can you Venmo me $60? Kev, can you pick up Kendall? We're swamped. Kev, can you talk to Dad? He's being stubborn about the roof. I said yes. Every yes made the next yes easier to demand. When Eli was 10, he asked why we didn't have a fun fund like Kendall's family. I told him the truth. We were building slowly. I could feel my face heat with the shame of being honest. He patted my arm. Okay. He said, we can still make pancakes. I watched my sister buy a new car with a bow on it. I watched Dad slip her an envelope and say, don't tell your mother. I watched Brad drink craft beer and explain startups and use words like burn rate. While he burned through other people's patience. He called me Doc, but he said it like a joke, like I was a guy with a hobby. Kev, you're so lucky. Alyssa said once, you don't have to care what you wear. It sounded like a compliment, but felt like a gentle kind of eraser. When Kendall turned 9, Alyssa threw a party with a rented unicorn and a balloon arch that scraped the ceiling. Eli and I stood by the cooler. Could we get pizza after? He asked. I checked my account and did the math. We could. We would. I put my hands on his shoulders and felt the bones. He was growing. Growth costs money. Growth is relentless. 2 months before the Sunday dinner, Alyssa called me crying. We're drowning, she said. Brad's equity won't vest until Q4. We made a bridge loan from Dad's safe, and he's being a jerk about it. I pressed the phone between shoulder and cheek while I scraped a tray in the morgue. There are calls you can't pause. Can you talk to him? You're good with him. I'm good at not yelling, I said. That's not the same. Please, she said, just smooth it. I'll square with you. I smoothed it. I sat with Dad on the porch and listened to him explain that this wasn't how he was raised, that his father would have thrown him out, that he wasn't raising a pack of beggars. I nodded and reminded him Alyssa was stressed. He fumed and then softened and then fished for the key to the safe like he always did. Just this once, he said, which meant not just this once. And now on that Sunday, he stood with his hand on the door and told me to return $40,000 my son allegedly took. The accusation hit like a slap, because it made no sense in our world. My son didn't sneak into their room. He didn't touch what wasn't his. He said, sir, to Dad, even when Dad was wrong. They targeted him because he was vulnerable, because he was mine. If I was the blur, my kid was the ghost behind it, easier to blame than to face the truth. Where'd you get 40 grand? I asked. Calm, Alyssa snapped, because calm was my only card. Don't act dumb. Dad counted it last week. It's gone now. Who has the key? I asked. We all do, she said, then backtracked when she realized her slip. Dad keeps it, but we know where it is. That's not the point. Did you call the police? I pressed. Mom made a face like I'd curse it in church. This is family, she said. Family meant no cops, no paperwork, just agreement. Family meant Kendall's word trumped Eli's because she's a certified witness, and Eli's just the quiet kid who fixes old laptop chargers. I looked at Eli. His mouth quivered, but he didn't cry. He looked broken in a way that'd scar wrong if I didn't act. Something in me hardened, not anger, but resolve, like bones knitting over a fracture. Okay, I said. We're leaving. Dad's jaw twitched. Come back with the money, he growled. Alyssa smirked like she'd won. No need for drama, Kev, she said. Aunt Marie's voice trailed after me, sugar-sweet and sharp. He was always different. I drove Eli home in silence. At a red light, he mumbled, chess after dinner, like normal was still within reach if we asked quietly. Yes, I said, but first I'm doing something. What? He asked. I gripped the wheel. I'm getting the facts. The big scene wasn't a holiday. It was 2 nights later at Mom and Dad's because Alyssa texted a deadline like a lone shark. Wednesday, 7:00 p.m. We need resolution. Kendall added a unicorn sticker because she's 9 and life still stickers. I asked Eli if he wanted to come. He shook his head. They don't see me, Dad, he said softly. I'll ruin the picture. It stung because it was true. I grabbed a banker's box on the way. Inside were bank statements, highlighted, printed in my kitchen with cold coffee and a trembling hand. I'd called my bank, Dad's credit union, the leasing company, and bored customer service reps who perked up when I said fraud. I gathered proofs, timelines, transfers. I had Alyssa's car lease. She'd sent me a photo of the contract for advice, forgetting advice leaves traces. At 7:04 p.m., I walked in. Dad stood like a guard. Mom hovered. Alyssa and Brad sat on the couch, a gap between them like cracked pavement. Kendall tapped on a tablet in the corner. Aunt Marie brought apple pie and judgment. I set the box on the coffee table. "Before we start," I said, "we're doing this with evidence." Alyssa rolled her eyes. "God, Kevin." "Shush," Dad said, liking paperwork when it looked official. I pulled the first folder. "Here's the safe's transaction log, last 3 withdrawals. July 2nd, August 19th, September 30th. Cash counted then was $12,300, not 40 grand. Silence. Alyssa blinked. Dad must have miscounted. "I didn't," Dad snapped. I laid down the second folder. "Car lease, 2024 RX 350, I said. "Signed by Alyssa and Brad in June. Monthly payment $912. Down payment $12,000 cash." I looked at Alyssa. "You sent me this for advice. I said it's not my business, my mistake." Brad tensed. "What's this got to do with anything?" "Your money timeline," I said. "July 2nd, Alyssa withdrew $10,000 from the safe." I showed Dad's note and a credit union statement with a matching deposit to Alyssa's account. August 19th, $5,000. September 30th, $3,000. I set down Venmo screenshots to the dealership, captioned "Car stuff lol." Mom's mouth opened, then shut. She looked smaller. Alyssa stood. "This is absurd." Brad stood too, voice sharp. "We're done. I told you not to drag me into your family's cash obsession." He grabbed his keys and left, the door thudding. Kendall flinched, her tablet timed out. Alyssa's hand shook. "Brad, wait," she called weakly, stepping toward the door, then stopping, trapped. My heart didn't race, it slowed like a surgeon's before a cut. I reached for the last folder. "There's a security camera," I said. Dad frowned. "We don't have one?" "You do," I said. "Remember the neighbor kid sneaking into the garage? You set up a motion cam by the bedroom door. Notifications annoyed you, but the app kept recording." I showed my phone. Alyssa, September 30th, 2:18 p.m., leaving the bedroom with an envelope time-stamped. Truth isn't flattering. Alyssa's chin quivered. "That was for Mom's ring cleaning." "The envelope said emergency," I said. "You texted me that night, asking for $200 for Kendall's art camp, saying you were tight." Dad sank into his chair, beer heavy in his hand. "So no," I said, voice steady. "Eli didn't take $40,000. There wasn't $40,000 in the safe to steal. You took it in bits, didn't track it, and when Dad panicked, you blamed my son, Eli." Aunt Marie made a soft sound like a kettle clicking off. I faced them. "This isn't revenge," I said. "It's closure. Stop dragging Eli's name. Stop making me the scapegoat for your mistakes. Next time money's gone, call the police, not me." Alyssa whispered, "I'm sorry," like it was a new word. I shook my head. "Apologize to Eli." Mom cried quietly. Dad stared at my phone's camera like it betrayed him. I packed the folders. "We're done. If you want a Tia LK Chinese letter, apologize to Eli and sign a safe custody agreement." No one stopped me as I left. Alyssa's voice, small and breaking, called after me, but the house stayed silent. Next day they tried to rewind. Mom called at 8:12 and I didn't pick up. Texts piled up. "Breakfast? You're dramatic." "Alyssa's fragile." A photo of roast leftovers. Dad texted, "Come over." "Don't be stupid." I ignored them. At home, Eli and I made a list: milk, detergent, a birthday card. He moved a pawn. "Check," he said, smiling shyly. We built new routines, Wednesday diner breakfasts, not Sundays with them. The waitress called him Professor for his glasses. He beamed. I got steadier at work, stopped jumping at every call, stopped covering shifts blindly. Alyssa's text swung between sorry and sharp. I was stressed. "You humiliated me. Can we reset?" A photo of Kindle's crooked project captioned, "She misses you." I typed, "Apologize to Eli first." No reply. Brad went silent, then left to stay with a friend. Alyssa posted vague stories about growth, her SUV gleaming in photos. Dad's last text, "You went too far. Your sister's marriage isn't your business." I replied, "Eli's name is my business. Keep your safe yours." Weeks passed. Calls faded. Mom texted about Aunt Jean's birthday. We didn't go. Eli and I played chess on the porch, the sun sliding across our building. Then Alyssa showed up, messy, red-eyed, holding muffins like a shield. "I messed up," she said. "I blamed Eli to make my life easier. Brad left. He says I'm cruel. I think he's right." I stayed firm. "Apologize to Eli, specific." "No excuses." She nodded. We called Eli out. She said, "I'm sorry, Eli. I lied about you knowing it wasn't true. I won't do it again." Eli nodded. "Okay." Not forgiveness, but a receipt. Dad's texts grew shorter. You made a spectacle, we don't do police. I replied, boundaries aren't spectacles, they're rules. He didn't answer. Mom's last text, your plate's here. I ignored it. Eli and I went to the diner. The waitress winked at his chest set. Eli said people shout at screens expecting it to help. I laughed. Dad called later. He got a new safe, new code, sign-in sheet. Good, I said. Treat it like it matters. He grumbled, you think you're better than us. I said, I just stopped letting you be worse to me. He hung up. Family chats got quiet, invitations formal. Aunt Marie posted about ungrateful kids. It stung, then felt like fresh air. Eli joined chess club. I drove kids home, listening to their chatter. We got him a thrift store jacket, fixed the desk lamp. Each small choice felt like freedom. Anger still came, Dad's hand on the door, Kindle's coached words, but I'd rinse it off, not revenge. Closure. Alyssa texted, Brad's gone. Selling the SUV? I sent a budget template, didn't chase. One Tuesday, I realized I hadn't thought about the safe all day. I slept well. A month later, Mom met me at the diner, worn sweater, clutching her mug. I miss you and Eli, I'm scared you'll hold up a mirror. I said, I'm not making it easy anymore, I'm making it honest. She nodded. We made you the problem because you didn't yell, I'm sorry. I said, tell Eli. She promised she would. Eli slid into the booth after. Was that okay? He asked. It was. We didn't need everything, just enough. We picked our own Sundays. My name's Kevin. I cut through noise at work and now at home. The moral. I won't pay for lies or lower the bar for peace. This isn't revenge, it's closure. A door I hold for me and Eli. Want in? Tell the truth, respect the boundary, bring receipts.